Your potential is limitless with the right mentor. Welcome to the Dhanraj Sir Method, Living the Subject.
All right, let's dive into three of the most important organizations on the planet, the specialized agencies of the United Nations that are out there tackling our biggest global challenges.
Ever stop and think about that? How do we solve problems that are just too big for any one country to handle? Things like pandemics, or global hunger, or saving ancient wonders. No single nation can do it alone. So, how does it get done?
Well, the answer is by working together. That's where the United Nations comes in. It created this whole network of specialized agencies, each one with a laser-focused mission to combine all our resources and knowledge for the good of everyone. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get the big picture on these helping hands. Then we'll zoom in on three of the heavy hitters: UNICEF, the WHO, and UNESCO. And finally, we'll talk about what it all means for our shared future.
Okay, first things first. What's the common thread here? What is the one mission that ties all of these different groups together?
At their very core, it's all about this: supporting the world's developing nations. They are there to help build social and economic progress right where it's needed the most. That's the foundational goal.
Okay, so let's see what that looks like in the real world. We're going to start with an agency that's dedicated to the youngest, most vulnerable people on Earth, UNICEF.
So UNICEF, that's the United Nations Children's Fund, was actually born out of a massive crisis. The UN General Assembly created it way back in 1946 for one very specific, very urgent reason: to help the children who were suffering in Europe right after World War II.
But what's really incredible is how fast UNICEF grew. Look at this timeline. It starts in 1946 as this temporary emergency fund just for Europe. But only 4 years later, by 1950, its mission exploded to include children in all developing countries. And just like that, it became the permanent global force for children that we know today.
So, what does UNICEF actually do? Well, a lot. But the real game changer is the philosophy behind it all. It's not just about giving charity. It's about fighting for rights. See that last point? Upholding the Convention on the Rights of the Child? That single idea changed everything. It shifted the conversation from just helping kids to recognizing that we have a fundamental legal duty to protect every single child. And you better believe the world has noticed. The impact of their work has been recognized with some of the planet's highest honors, including the Nobel Peace Prize back in 1965 for promoting brotherhood among nations.
All right, so from the health of our children, let's zoom out to the health of, well, everybody. It's time to talk about the World Health Organization, better known as the WHO.
The WHO is the UN's go-to authority for everything related to international public health. It was officially founded on April 7th, 1948, and yup, that's why we celebrate that date every year as World Health Day. Now, to really understand the power of the WHO, you have to look at one of its greatest fights, a battle against a truly ancient enemy, a horrifying disease that had plagued humanity for centuries.
For generations, the idea of beating smallpox would have sounded like science fiction. It was just this relentless killer. But as the world started working together, a new, almost crazy question started to get asked. What if we could actually win? Could we finally defeat this thing for good?
And the answer was a resounding yes. In 1980, it was done. After a massive global vaccination campaign led by the WHO, smallpox was declared officially eradicated from the planet. Now, this wasn't a miracle. The WHO found the virus's weaknesses and exploited them brilliantly. It's truly one of the greatest public health victories in all of human history. And that's not the only success story, not by a long shot. Just look at some of these other wins driven by the WHO. A 40% drop in child undernutrition, the child mortality rate nearly cut in half. These aren't just statistics. These numbers represent millions and millions of lives saved.
Okay, our last agency for today takes a totally different track. It's founded on this really profound idea that political treaties and economic deals aren't enough to stop wars. If you want to build lasting peace, you have to build it first in the minds of people. This is the whole mission of UNESCO.
And its full name, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, tells you exactly how they plan to do it. The core belief, right from its start in 1946, is that real peace needs what they call the intellectual and moral solidarity of mankind.
So how in the world do you do that? Well, UNESCO focuses on three huge pillars. First, education. They fight illiteracy. Second, science. They encourage researchers everywhere to work together and share what they know.
And third, culture. They protect our shared human history. And this last one is probably what you know UNESCO for best. Anytime you see that World Heritage Site plaque at a place like the Taj Mahal, that's UNESCO in action. They're providing the money and the expertise to protect these incredible places for all of us forever.
So, we've looked at 3 very different agencies, each with a massive mission. Let's try and pull it all together.
Okay, so let's recap. You've got UNICEF, focused on kids' rights and well-being, achieving incredible things like universal child immunization. You've got the WHO, the guardian of global health, literally wiping a disease off the face of the earth. And you have UNESCO, building peace through culture and knowledge by protecting our shared heritage. Each one is a monumental task, only made possible through global cooperation.
And that brings us to the big takeaway here. The work of these agencies is never, ever done. From climate change to preparing for the next pandemic, there's always a new challenge right around the corner. Which really leaves us with the most important question of all. What is the next great global challenge that we all have to face together?